Amazing. So, Mark, being employed and being self-employed, we all know that a lot of people get in property to become self-employed, to have more time, which, we often don't have when we become self-employed.
True.
But I think it's freedom. Now, talk to me about your transition from being employed and how many hours you were working to then what it's like being self-employed and maybe how many hours you're working now.
Yeah. So I transitioned from being an architect to self-employed as being a consultant. Previously, I left architecture school after sort of 7 years. I started working at Norman Foster's office, Foster & Partners, and I was really sort of working, as we were saying, sort of 70, 80-hour weeks, and that's quite common in that industry, especially when you get to the top end of architecture companies, and they can really, and there's really sort of an idea in architecture that everyone should work those hours. When you get to those companies, and I really started to then read books, things like The 4-Hour Workweek, all those books where it starts to say sort of valuing your time, understanding what's your time worth, and that really led me into, alongside starting to invest, starting to have properties that were earning probably more than my salary quite quickly in a year's sort of investment in terms of rental or in terms of capital appreciation. I think if you're quite logically minded, you start to think, what the hell am I doing here? Why am I doing this?
And were you paid for, what's the normal working week, 37.5?
Yeah.
So were you paid for every hour?
No, the standard is that you don't get paid for the, weekends, you'd work till 2 a.m, you'd work till whatever, and it's kind of like this weird expected environment.
So
you should do it.
Would the owners of the firms and the big dogs, would they be doing the same thing? Is it that?
Some, but not the very top. The people around the round table, they wouldn't be there until 2 a.m. But the people that are sort of partners, and you start to look around and you're like, I don't want to be like you, I don't want to be like you, I don't want your life, So I started to, I obviously was investing, started to get clued up, moving across. And so in terms of career, I think, now if I work with clients, the same way an engineer would, the same way a lawyer would, the same way you charge by the hour, you charge by the day, and I think that's the fairest way of doing things. A contractor will charge you 150, 180 pounds a day. Why shouldn't architects do it? So I think to go back to sort of what I do now, I probably work similar sort of hours, but that's managing my own portfolio, it's managing projects full of people, but I'm being paid, or it's for my own stuff. I'm not trading my time for pay for someone else. And I think that's the critical lesson, is that you just have to think to yourself, do you always want to keep earning money for someone else, or do you want to be earning money for yourself? And that's an employee to a self contractor, or So that was my kind of experience, and I think it's still going on at large in architecture.
Why does it I used to work in medical communications, and it was a similar thing.
Yeah.
But I'm talking half an hour every day extra, an hour.
Wow.
Nowhere near 80-hour work weeks. And I kind of understood why. I didn't understand it, but I understood why they did it.
Yeah.
How can how can people think it's okay to not get? I know it's a whole philosophical question.
Yeah.
In architecture, why is it okay?
I think it's because, I don't really know the exact answer, but I think it could be to do with it's a creative background. You're deemed to sort of love everything that you do, and that and I think that's just happened over time, is that companies have found a way of keeping people, having the idea of working for Foster & Partners is the epitome, that is the top end, that is the premium sort of architecture company. You should be proud, Tej, for working for Foster & Partners.
Oh God, I hate that.
Yeah.
When they say that,
you should love the projects you're working on, and you might be designing toilets for a year, but you should love it.
I love toilets.
And so I think that's where it all comes from, or it sort of stems from. And I think also a lot of architects, they have a negative view on development. They have a negative view on developers,
But aren't they working for developers?
Yeah, quite a lot. Which is quite ironic, yeah. But client side is almost classified as the dark side. Like, client side is almost like, working for a developer is almost like, you're just a money grabber.
What's the other side then?
So basically you've got this is from an architect's point of view.
Yeah.
Architects, developers, and developers is classified as the client side, If you work on a developer side, you're going transition to the dark side, You'll get a bit of a nudge and say, you're chasing the money now, aren't you? And so I think that's the reason why also ArchDevelop, I really wanted to just amalgamate the two. I classify myself as an architectural developer. I think, and I think I'm very sort of, I am very concerted with costs and I make deals work. I've got a good eye for a deal, but I'm also very design oriented. And design doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Good design doesn't. You can make things work. So I think that's led into what I'm doing now. Quite
Interesting. And I mean, it's amazing to see. I mean, you look around us, 99% of people, whatever, are employed and will be those people working at 2 a.m. until they're 60 and then maybe become another level.
Yeah.
Is there light at the end of the tunnel for everyone? Can anyone do anything?
I think you have to seriously want to do it and you have to put yourself out there. You have to really want to work hard. But I think you have to be a person that, well, for me anyway, I'm quite logical. I can speak from my own experience. You have to be quite logically minded and sort of really have that and be quite impulsive to say, no, I'm going to change this. I'm going to do this. But in reality, I think everyone has a set of skills that are able to use and sell to a degree. You all have something. You can all do stuff, and I think specific to the architecture, I think absolutely. If there are the certain risks, and you don't have a salary, you don't have the benefits, you don't have. But if you're prepared to push yourself and go for it, and you're going to work hard, I really think most people can do it and follow the same process.
I think they can, and you know what you said there about like you probably work the same amount of hours, but you're getting paid for it. That's the key thing, because the second I think you ask anyone who's self-employed, as long as they're doing something they're passionate about, they're going to say, yeah, I left my job and I am working more, but they're not going to be unhappy. They're going to say, actually, great.
Yeah.
Because one, you're getting paid for it and you enjoy it. And I think it's a tough thing to fathom, right?
Yeah.
Why would I leave my 9 to 5 and then work more hours? And it's because it's yours.
But people can also be working 9 to 5 but not be motivated. They can be really unhappy. They can really be, they can feel like they're at a dead end. And that actually, I think that's the biggest transition from becoming self-employed, is that you're doing everything, you have a reason for everything. There's a very key reason to what you're doing. And that is very, very important for me anyway. I need to have a linear path. I need to see what's at the end of the tunnel. I need to have goals. And I found a 9 to 5 job, you lose a lot of that if you're not connected with the project, the costing, what money you're making, I think it's super important.
I think it's also difficult to have goals. Unless you work in maybe a commission-based environment, it's quite difficult to say, I want to earn X amount in X many years, because all it takes is one dickhead manager to be like, oh, I don't like your shoes, I'm not promoting you, or like, oh, I want that role, so sorry, can you just wait a few years?
Yeah.
Whereas in your own business, if you say, right, I want to earn 200 grand this year, it's your fault if you don't earn it, isn't it? It's no one else's.
True.
No one's stopping us. So I think, when you work, and you've got your manager setting targets, and they're like, well, I get they're important, but that's not going to feed my kids. That's not taking them to university.
And that's a good manager. You can have managers that are micromanagers.
I mean, I would say the majority of managers I've seen or experienced in any discipline I've worked in have been average. No one wants to read a book. Dale Carnegie is 4 quid, don't read it. They just don't want to read it. So it's one of those things. But being self-employed, any regrets?
No.
That's all I have to say.